Hey guys! Welcome back to the channel where we uncover hip-hop's most fascinating hidden stories. Today, we're diving into what might be one of the most pivotal behind-the-scenes moments in 90s rap, the alleged warning that Missy Elliott gave to Naughty by Nature that could have saved them from their eventual implosion. According to industry insiders who worked closely with both Missy and Naughty during their peak years, Missy reportedly pulled Treach and Vin Rock aside during the 1998 Vibe Awards after-party and delivered some hard truths about where their group was heading. This conversation, which happened away from cameras and journalists, allegedly became heated as Missy, who had witnessed similar group dynamics in her work with Jodeci and other Elektra Records artists, tried to alert them to the warning signs she was seeing in their interactions. What makes this particularly intriguing is what Busta Rhymes, who was reportedly within earshot of this conversation, shared years later during a little-noticed radio interview in 2015. Without naming names directly, Busta referenced a female pioneer who tried to intervene with a legendary trio before things went south. Many believe this cryptic reference was about Missy's attempt to save Naughty by Nature from themselves. The timing aligns perfectly with what Queen Latifah, who discovered Naughty by Nature, once mentioned about wishing she had stayed more involved with the group's internal dynamics after helping launch their career. Sources close to Latifah suggest she later learned about Missy's intervention attempt and regretted not taking similar action herself when she first noticed tensions developing between the members. While we may never know exactly what words were exchanged during that alleged late-night conversation, those familiar with the situation suggest Missy specifically warned about the dangers of unresolved creative tensions, financial transparency issues, and the ego clashes that had destroyed so many groups before them. Given what eventually transpired between Treach and Vin Rock, from physical altercations to the infamous Twitter firing, one has to wonder how differently things might have turned out had they heeded what appears to have been prescient advice from one of hip-hop's most respected voices. Let's rewind to the streets of East Orange, New Jersey in the late 1980s. Before they were Naughty by Nature, Treach, Anthony Chris, Vin Rock, Vincent Brown, and DJ KG, Kier Gist, were just three talented kids with dreams of making it in hip-hop. They initially called themselves the New Style, a name that reflected their ambition to bring something fresh to the rap game. Their local reputation began growing through energetic performances and freestyle battles, but the big break came when they caught the attention of fellow New Jersey artist Queen Latifah. Recognizing their potential, Latifah signed them to her management company and suggested a name change that would better capture their essence, Naughty by Nature. This rebrand wasn't just cosmetic, it represented a more focused artistic identity that would help define their place in hip-hop. What made this early period particularly significant was the genuine brotherhood between the members. Before fame and money complicated things, Treach, Vin Rock, and DJ KG shared authentic connection based on their common background and mutual respect for each other's talents. Treach's raw lyrical ability, Vin's commanding stage presence, and KG's production skills created a perfect balance that would fuel their initial success. The group's first album under their new name, featuring the breakout single O.P.P, was released in 1991 and changed everything. The track became an instant phenomenon, reaching number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and going gold within months. What made O.P.P particularly brilliant was how it disguised its risque subject matter with clever wordplay and an irresistible Jackson 5 sample, allowing it to dominate both urban radio and mainstream stations. This early success established the template for Naughty by Nature's appeal, street credibility wrapped in accessible production that could cross over without feeling watered down. They weren't trying to be pop stars, but they understood how to create hip-hop that could reach beyond core rap audiences without compromising their authenticity. This formula would serve them well commercially, even as the personal dynamics within the group began to fracture. Following the massive success of O.P.P, Naughty by Nature entered their golden era. Their self-titled album went platinum, and they quickly capitalized on this momentum with their 1993 follow-up, 1993. This album delivered another monster hit with Hop Hooray, a track that became not just a commercial success, but a cultural touchstone, complete with an iconic dance routine that everyone from suburban kids to Hollywood celebrities was mimicking. What made this period particularly impressive was how the group maintained their credibility while achieving mainstream success. At a time when many hip-hop artists were being accused of selling out to reach wider audiences, Naughty managed to create music that satisfied both hardcore rap fans and pop listeners. Tracks like Everything's Gonna Be Alright showcase their ability to address serious social issues while still creating engaging, accessible music. Their 1995 album, Poverty's Paradise, represented the peak of their critical and commercial success, winning a Grammy Award for Best Rap Album. This recognition from the music establishment validated what hip-hop fans already knew, that Naughty by Nature had mastered the art of creating authentic rap music with universal appeal. The album's hit single, Feel Me Flow, demonstrated their continued ability to craft songs that could dominate radio while maintaining their artistic integrity. During this golden era, the group was also building their business acumen. They established their own label, Naughty by Nature Entertainment, and began developing other artists. This entrepreneurial spirit reflected the growing business consciousness in hip-hop during the mid-90s, as artists increasingly sought ownership and control over their careers rather than simply being talent signed to major labels. However, beneath this tremendous public success, the internal dynamics of the group were becoming increasingly strained. The pressures of fame, creative differences, and questions about leadership were creating tensions that weren't yet visible to fans, but were steadily eroding the foundation of their partnership. The brotherhood that had defined their early days was being tested by the realities of success and the individual ambitions that came with it. As Naughty by Nature entered the late 90s and early 2000s, the cracks in their foundation began widening. What had started as occasional creative disagreements evolved into more fundamental conflicts about the group's direction and leadership. At the center of this tension was the relationship between Treach and Vin Rock, the two most visible members of the trio. Treach, as the primary lyricist and most recognizable face of the group, naturally assumed a leadership position that wasn't always welcomed by Vin. While DJ KG largely stayed focused on production and remained somewhat removed from the growing power struggle, Vin and Treach increasingly found themselves at odds over both creative and business decisions. These tensions weren't immediately apparent to fans. On stage, the group maintained their energetic performances and seemingly unified front. Their 1999 album, 1999, Nature's Fury, delivered another hit with Jamboree, featuring Jeanne, demonstrating their continued commercial viability despite the internal friction. But behind the scenes, the situation was deteriorating in ways that would eventually become impossible to hide. What complicated matters further was Treach's growing profile outside the group. His charismatic presence and distinctive voice led to acting opportunities in films and television shows like Jason's Lyric and The Sopranos. While these individual pursuits brought additional spotlight to the group, they also created scheduling conflicts and raised questions about his commitment to Naughty by Nature as his primary focus. The personal lives of the members, particularly Treach, added another layer of complexity to the group dynamic. His high-profile relationship and subsequent marriage to Sandra Peppa Denton of Salt and Peppa put him in the celebrity spotlight in ways that extended beyond music. This relationship, which began in the late 90s and culminated in marriage in 1999, brought additional attention to Treach as an individual rather than as part of Naughty by Nature. As the new millennium began, these various pressures, creative differences, leadership disputes, outside pursuits, and personal relationships were creating a pressure cooker situation within the group. What had once been a genuine brotherhood was evolving into a strained business relationship that was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. The tensions that had been building for years finally erupted in a shocking physical altercation during what should have been a routine business meeting. According to accounts from those involved, Treach and Vin Rock's disagreements escalated from heated words to actual violence, with punches being thrown in a confrontation that made it clear the group's problems had reached a critical point. This wasn't just a momentary loss of composure. It represented the culmination of years of festering resentments and unresolved conflicts. The incident shattered any pretense that Naughty by Nature was still functioning as a cohesive unit behind the scenes. While they attempted to maintain a professional working relationship afterward, the trust and camaraderie that had once defined the group had been irreparably damaged. What makes this situation particularly significant is how it contrasts with the group's public image. Naughty by Nature's music had always projected positivity and unity, with anthems that brought people together on dance floors worldwide. The reality of members physically fighting during business discussions represented a profound disconnect between their artistic output and their actual relationships. The aftermath of this altercation created an uncomfortable limbo period for the group. They weren't officially disbanded, but they weren't functioning as a true unit either. Performances continued, but with a palpable tension that attentive fans could detect. The creative chemistry that had produced their classic hits was compromised by the personal animosity between key members. This period also coincided with declining commercial success for the group. The changing landscape of hip-hop in the early 2000s, with new styles and younger artists dominating the charts, created additional pressure on a group already struggling with internal conflicts. The combination of industry challenges and personal tensions created a perfect storm that threatened to end Naughty by Nature completely. Despite these serious issues, the group maintained a public facade of functionality for several more years. This professional commitment to preserving the brand they had built, even amid personal conflicts, demonstrates both the business acumen they had developed and the respect they maintained for their legacy, even as their personal relationships deteriorated. In May 2013, the hip-hop world was shocked when Treach took to Twitter to make a stunning announcement. Vin Rock was fired from Naughty by Nature. This wasn't a carefully crafted press release or a joint statement. It was a blunt social media declaration that blindsided both fans and apparently Vin himself. Treach's tweet stated, "Vinny from Naughty by Nature is officially fired from the group," followed by another message claiming, "Anybody that keeps rocking with that sucker is an enemy." This public dismissal via social media represented an unprecedented moment in hip-hop. While groups had certainly broken up before, the method of announcing such a significant change through Twitter reflected both the evolving media landscape and the complete breakdown of professional communication within the group. The fact that one member believed he could unilaterally fire another from a group they had built together spoke volumes about the power dynamics at play. Vin Rock's response was measured but firm. Rather than engaging in a heated back and forth on social media, he simply stated that Naughty by Nature was a partnership and that Treach didn't have the authority to dismiss him. This more professional approach to the conflict earned Vin sympathy from many fans who viewed Treach's Twitter outburst as impulsive and disrespectful to the group's legacy. What made this situation particularly complex was DJ KG's position. As the third member who had largely stayed out of the conflicts between Treach and Vin, he was now caught in an impossible situation. His production had been instrumental to the group's sound, but he now faced pressure to choose sides in a public dispute between his longtime collaborators. The Twitter firing incident damaged not just the group's internal relationships, but also their brand. Longtime fans were disappointed to see a legendary hip-hop act imploding so publicly, and the business opportunities for a group in such visible conflict were naturally limited. Concert promoters and potential collaborators became hesitant to work with an act whose future seemed so uncertain. This social media explosion represented more than just a momentary outburst. It was the public manifestation of years of private tension. The fact that it happened on Twitter rather than through traditional media channels reflected how the music industry had changed since Naughty by Nature's 90s heyday, with artists now having direct, unfiltered access to their audience for both music and messages. Beyond the professional conflicts that plagued Naughty by Nature, Treach's personal life became increasingly troubled in ways that affected both his public image and the group's functioning. His marriage to Sandra Peppa Denton of Salt and Peppa, which began in 1999, ended in divorce in 2001 amid serious allegations of physical abuse. In her 2008 autobiography, Let's Talk About Pep, Denton described a relationship marked by controlling tendencies and physical intimidation. These allegations painted a disturbing picture of Treach that contrasted sharply with his charismatic public persona. While he has consistently denied these claims, the public nature of these accusations affected both his reputation and, by extension, the Naughty by Nature brand. What makes these personal issues particularly relevant to the group's story is how they reflected a pattern of conduct that allegedly manifested in professional relationships as well. The same volatile tendencies that reportedly emerged in Treach's romantic relationships may have contributed to the confrontational dynamic within Rock that ultimately led to their public falling out. Treach's personal struggles weren't limited to relationship issues. Like many artists who achieved sudden fame and wealth in the 90s, he faced challenges adjusting to the realities of success and the pressures that came with it. The transition from the streets of East Orange to international stardom created stresses that manifested in various ways, both publicly and privately. These personal demons didn't exist in isolation from the group's professional challenges. The emotional volatility that reportedly characterized Treach's personal relationships inevitably affected his professional ones as well. The boundaries between personal and professional became increasingly blurred as the group members' lives became more intertwined through years of collaboration and shared experiences. What's particularly notable about this aspect of the Naughty by Nature story is how it reflects broader issues of mental health and emotional well-being in hip-hop. The genre has traditionally promoted images of strength and invulnerability, creating environments where artists often lack the support systems and resources needed to address personal challenges in healthy ways. The pressures of maintaining a tough image can prevent artists from seeking the help they might need. In a twist that added another layer to Naughty by Nature's complicated story, the COVID-19 pandemic led to a shocking discovery about their finances. With touring suddenly halted in 2020, the members had more time to examine their business affairs, leading to the revelation that they had potentially been missing significant royalty payments for years. This financial discovery came about when the group began investigating their publishing and streaming revenue more thoroughly. What they found suggested that proper accounting and payment systems hadn't been maintained, resulting in substantial amounts of money that should have reached the artists being held elsewhere. For a group whose commercial peak had been decades earlier, these missing royalties represented a significant financial impact. What makes this situation particularly troubling is how common such financial irregularities are in the music industry, especially for artists from the pre-digital era. Many acts who signed contracts in the 80s and 90s have discovered similar issues when examining their royalty statements more carefully. The complex web of publishing rights, mechanical royalties, and digital streaming payments creates numerous opportunities for artists to be underpaid without their knowledge. The pandemic-induced pause in touring created an unexpected opportunity for this financial reckoning. With their primary income source of live performances suddenly eliminated, the members had both the motivation and the time to investigate other revenue streams more thoroughly. This silver lining to an otherwise challenging period potentially helped them recover funds that might otherwise have remained undiscovered. This financial revelation added another dimension to the group's internal conflicts. Questions naturally arose about who knew what and when, whether anyone in their management team had been aware of these discrepancies, and how these newly discovered funds should be distributed among members who were no longer on good terms. Money issues that might have been easier to resolve during their harmonious early days became much more complicated in the context of their fractured relationships. The discovery also highlighted how vulnerable artists can be to financial mismanagement or exploitation. Even established, successful acts like Naughty by Nature, who had achieved multiple platinum albums and international fame, weren't immune to the accounting issues that have plagued the music industry for decades. This reality check served as a reminder that commercial success doesn't automatically translate to financial security in the complex ecosystem of music rights and royalties. Despite the public firing, physical altercations, and years of tension, Naughty by Nature managed to achieve something that many fractured groups never accomplish: a functional reconciliation. While not a complete healing of all wounds, the members found a way to set aside enough of their differences to continue performing together, preserving their legacy for both themselves and their fans. This reconciliation wasn't announced with the same public drama as their conflicts had been. Instead, it manifested gradually through joint performances and appearances that demonstrated a professional commitment to the brand they had built together. The Twitter firing that had seemed so final in 2013 eventually gave way to a more pragmatic approach focused on the business of being naughty by nature. What makes this reconciliation particularly interesting is how it appears to be based more on practical considerations than emotional resolution. The financial realities of performing as a complete unit versus individual projects likely played a significant role in this decision. The Naughty by Nature brand has more commercial value with all three original members involved, creating a financial incentive to maintain at least a working relationship. The nostalgia factor also contributed to this reconciliation, as 90s hip-hop has experienced a cultural resurgence, with new generations discovering classic tracks and original fans eager to relive their youth. The demand for authentic performances of hits like O.P.P. and Hop Hooray has increased. This market reality created additional motivation to present a unified front, regardless of lingering personal issues. Fan reaction to the group's conflicts likely played a role as well. The disappointment expressed by longtime supporters when the Twitter firing occurred demonstrated that people cared deeply about the group's legacy and wanted to see it preserved. This public pressure, combined with the practical considerations, helped push the members toward finding a workable solution. What's particularly remarkable about this reconciliation is that it occurred without any member having to completely surrender their position or dignity. Rather than one side winning the conflict, they appear to have reached a pragmatic arrangement that allows each member to maintain their role while setting aside enough of their differences to function professionally. This adult approach to conflict resolution represents a level of maturity that isn't always evident in entertainment industry disputes. When we step back and examine Naughty by Nature's complete journey, what emerges isn't just a story of hip-hop success and internal conflict, but a complex case study in how creative partnerships evolve under the pressures of fame, money, and time. Their experience offers valuable insights, not just for music fans, but for anyone interested in the dynamics of long-term professional relationships. Their musical legacy remains undeniable. Hits like O.P.P., Hop Hooray, and Feel Me Flow have transcended their era to become timeless classics that continue to resonate with new generations. The group's ability to create music that was simultaneously authentic to hip-hop culture while accessible to mainstream audiences helped expand the genre's reach during a crucial period in its evolution. This cultural contribution stands regardless of the personal conflicts that occurred behind the scenes. What's particularly noteworthy about Naughty by Nature's impact is how they helped bridge regional and cultural divides in hip-hop. As East Coast artists who achieved national and international success, they helped establish New Jersey as a legitimate hip-hop hub beyond the shadow of neighboring New York. Their appeal across different demographics also helped demonstrate hip-hop's universal potential at a time when the genre was still fighting for mainstream recognition. The business lessons from their journey are equally significant. The financial revelations during the pandemic highlight the importance of artists maintaining control over their business affairs and regularly auditing their royalty statements. Their experience serves as a cautionary tale about the potential pitfalls of the music industry's complex accounting systems and the need for ongoing vigilance, even years after a commercial peak. Perhaps most importantly, Naughty by Nature's story demonstrates both the fragility and resilience of creative partnerships. The same passionate personalities that can create magical musical chemistry can also clash in destructive ways when not properly channeled. Yet their ability to eventually find a functional working relationship despite serious conflicts shows that professional reconciliation is possible even after public fallouts. For today's artists, Naughty by Nature offers a multifaceted legacy to consider. Their musical innovations and cross-cultural appeal provide a template for creating authentic art with broad appeal. Their business challenges highlight the importance of financial literacy and contractual awareness. Their personal conflicts and eventual reconciliation demonstrate how creative partnerships can evolve through different phases while still preserving the work that matters most. In the end, asking, "What happened to Naughty by Nature?" reveals a story more nuanced than either total triumph or complete disaster. Like the complex human beings behind the music, their journey contains contradictions, setbacks, and unexpected resilience. The fact that they can still perform their classics together decades after their formation, despite everything they've been through, speaks to both the healing power of music and the pragmatic realities of the business they've navigated together for over 30 years.